कौन सी राइट एज है सिविल सर्विसेज के लिए प्रेपरेशन शुरू करने के लिए कि इंजीनियरिंग करने के बाद भी मेडिकल करने के बाद भी लोग जो है फिर भी एग्जाम्स दे रहे हैं, दे वांट टू गेट इनटू द सिविल सर्विसेज.
India, every year, 1 million candidates apply to sit what's said to be one of the toughest exams in the world.
You have to sort of give up a lot of other things, especially social media.
मैंने सोशल मीडिया मैंने सारे प्लेटफॉर्म्स छोड़ दिए.
उस समय मैं जब इसकी तैयारी करने गया था एंड सोशल मीडिया भी मैंने ट्रांसफॉर्म कर दिया.
सोशल मीडिया साइट पे तो मैं नहीं रही जब मैं पढ़ाई कर रही थी.
But the ability to put that information on paper in that limited time, उसमें एक प्रॉब्लम आ गई. फिर अराउंड द मिड 80s वो फोटोकॉपिंग शुरू हो गई. तो उससे प्रिपरेशन आसान तो हुई, लेकिन वो इन डेप्थ नॉलेज चली गई. This over obsession with only this one competitive exam, that I think can pose a major challenge. Political contests in this country have been very, very intense. You know, we need people in our technical directorate. The most successful intervention in this country was done by Lal Bahadur Shastri in the Green Revolution. In order to run the country well, you require Prabhu Shakti, Mantrana Shakti and Utsah Shakti. So all these three Shaktis have to come together. Now the larger vision of Viksit Bharat.
What does the UPSC panel look for in a candidate? उत्तिष्ठ जागृत प्राप्य वरान्न बोध. Arise, awake and strive for knowledge. नमस्कार, ये पॉडकास्ट आईएएस एस्पिरेंट्स के लिए है. ब्रिटिश आईसीएस से लेकर आज के सिविल सर्विसेज तक स्ट्रक्चर काफी इवॉल्व हो चुका है. लाखों स्टूडेंट साल दर साल यूपीएससी की तैयारियां करते हैं. आखिर एक सिविल सर्वेंट होना इतना अट्रैक्टिव क्यों है? क्या स्पेशल है इस करियर में कि लोग मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग के बाद भी इसे परस्यू करते हैं? Is there a right age and personality type to start preparing? कितना इम्पोर्टेंट है टेक्स्ट बुक्स और कोचिंग के बियॉन्ड प्रिपेयर करने? और यूपीएससी पैनल किस चीज को ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंस देता है? हम डिस्कस करेंगे रीजनल डाइवर्सिटी का रोल, एक अच्छा एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर बनने के लिए क्या जरूरी स्किल्स हैं, और एस्पिरेंट्स को इन पोलराइज्ड टाइम्स में अपने आंसर्स कैसे नेविगेट करने चाहिए. ये और बहुत से ऐसे सवालों के जवाब अगर आप ढूंढ रहे हैं तो ये एपिसोड आखिर तक जरूर देखिएगा. हमारे साथ है फॉर्मर आईएएस ऑफिसर, लपासना के पूर्व डायरेक्टर, लेखक और थॉट लीडर डॉक्टर संजीत चोपड़ा जी. सो स्टे ट्यून फॉर टिप्स, insights and inspiration on your civil services journey. For me, though, a civil servant once is always a civil servant, but you're a former IAS officer. You have been the director of Labasna, which trains the biggest and best minds of this country for the
Thank
civil
you for saying
services. But sir, मेरे कुछ quick questions हैं और वो मैं चाहूँगी कि आप अगर हमारे listeners के लिए, viewers के लिए जो है उनको address कर सकें, especially those who are preparing for the civil services. पहला और बहुत बेसिक सा क्वेश्चन कि ऐसा क्या है इन द सिविल सर्विसेज और यूपीएससी एग्ज़ाम्स कि इंजीनियरिंग करने के बाद भी, मेडिकल करने के बाद भी लोग जो है फिर भी एग्ज़ाम्स दे रहे हैं, दे वांट टू गेट इनटू द सिविल सर्विसेज. व्हाट इज़ सो अपीलिंग एंड अट्रैक्टिव अबाउट दिस?
I think it is one of the best and the finest way to be in public affairs. I mean, to be in public affairs. And I think, the opportunities that you get at a very young age. You see, typically if a person has made it to the civil services between the ages of, 24, 25, 26, he or she can legitimately hope to be a collector in the early 30s, right? So that sort of opportunity to work, to serve, to contribute to nation building is not really possible anywhere else. You see, so your ability to make decisions which are affecting large numbers of people, both in terms of implementing things, and as you grow higher in service, your ability to influence policy, your ability to partake in nation building, that is perhaps unparalleled. And another great advantage which the IAS and IPS, these two services have, is that we operate at all the three levels.
Okay.
At the level of district, at the level of the state, and at the union level. I mean, a policeman or a police officer in Wales is the police officer of Wales, and he rarely moves to London, rarely moves into MI and various other things. But here we get this opportunity of working at all levels, interacting with all people. And as I keep telling my young officers, is that we are the only service in the world which has to deal with people who are agricultural workers, with ICDS workers, with people, with school teachers, health, education, and also negotiating with the World Bank on various projects. So that's the charm of being in the civil service. Also, it is perhaps easier to join the civil service than to join politics. So a lot of people who would like to be in public, who would like to have a public persona, would find it easier, and also it's a far more fair system. I mean, you work hard for 2-3 years. I mean, you work hard for 3 years. There's a reasonable chance of making it to the civil services, and the salary is quite okay.
Right.
Quite okay. I would say that it's not competitive in market terms, but when you look at it in terms of your necessities, of your needs, I think it's a great service to be in.
कौन सी राइट एज है सिविल सर्विसेज के लिए प्रेपरेशन शुरू करने के लिए?
जब आप कॉलेज ज्वाइन करते हैं, व्हेन यू स्टार्ट पार्टिसिपेटिंग इन डिबेट्स एंड व्हेन यू स्टार्ट पार्टिसिपेटिंग इन इश्यूज कनेक्टेड विद करंट अफेयर्स, तो ऑटोमेटिकली प्रिपरेशन हो जाती है. आई थिंक कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि मैंने एक पर्टिकुलर डेट से, आई कैन नॉट से जस्ट, एंड आई विल टेक माई ओन एग्जांपल. आई टुक द एग्जाम इन 1984, सो आई कांट से कि मैंने 1 जनवरी 1981 में डिसाइड किया. नो, it's a continuous preparation. So if you are reading your newspapers, if you're part of the public discourse, if you're participating in the debates that are happening, it's an automatic preparation for the civil service. So I think formal जो आपको तैयारी करनी है, कम से कम 1 साल तो आपको
तैयारी की ज़रूरत है.
को तैयारी, you must keep 1 year preparation in mind if you have to take the exam. For example, if you take the exam in 2027, I would certainly think that an year earlier you have to sort of give up a lot of other things. I mean, especially social media and other things. Switch off your WhatsApp and start focusing. So that becomes very important.
सर, आपके समय में और जिस समय में मेरे पिताजी ने सिविल सर्विसेज दिए थे, उस समय में कोचिंग सेंटर्स नहीं होते थे, बट आजकल कोचिंग सेंटर्स की जरूरत पड़ रही है.
आपको ना, there are 3 very interesting transitions in this, and I think it has also impacted the way we prepare. क्योंकि जब हम लोग एग्ज़ाम दे रहे थे तो हमें अपने नोट्स बनाने पड़ते थे. तो जब नोट्स बनाते थे तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऑटोमेटिकली अब्जॉर्ब हो जाती थी, बिकॉज देयर वाज नो वन सोर्स फ्रॉम वेयर यू कुड गेट ऑल द मटेरियल. तो आई रिमेंबर गोइंग टू वेरियस एनसाइक्लोपीडियाज, लाइब्रेरी में बैठ के वो हैंड रिटन नोट्स बनाते थे. फिर अराउंड द मिड-80s वो फोटो कॉपिंग शुरू हो गई. जब वो फोटो कॉपिंग शुरू हो गई तो हमारे जो नोट्स थे वो फिर वो जो हर बुक ने उसको साइक्लोस्टाइल स्टेंसिल करके, तो उससे प्रिपरेशन आसान तो हुई, लेकिन वो इन डेप्थ नॉलेज चली गई. So what was happening is that if I wrote something, if I prepared a note on a particular subject, whether it was on 1857 or Bhagat Singh or Lajpat Rai or the split in the Congress or philosophy में optional था, if I wrote a note on, so I was able to absorb it because I'd written it.
Also after consulting a lot of books.
And so now what has happened is कि वो किताब available है market में, बनी बनाई है, and all these books are almost equal. So whether it is coaching center A or coaching center B or coaching center C, it's like Pepsi and and Coke. You can't make the difference. It's the same thing. So I think उससे क्या हुआ है कि बहुत लोग अपेयर कर रहे हैं, बहुत लोगों को लगता है कि उनको नॉलेज आ गई है, लेकिन एक जो फ़र्क है तब में और अब में, वो फ़र्क ये है कि आगे क्योंकि हम बहुत ज़्यादा रिटन काम कर रहे थे, बिकॉज इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर द नोट्स यू आर राइटिंग. नाउ वन ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट हैज हैपेंड इज दैट बिकॉज ऑफ ऑल दिस कोचिंग institutions, information is there. A lot of information is available. But the ability to put that information on paper in that limited time, उसमें एक प्रॉब्लम आ गई. And because of that, I keep advising all civil servant aspirants is that collecting information about the general studies paper, about ethics paper and about other things, one thing, but they must start practicing, they must start writing, and they must start writing in their own language. I mean, consult 5 books, 6 books, but write your own notes. So once you start writing your own notes, that's what will give you the competitive edge over the others. And it is certainly more difficult today. In fact, it was very easy to be in the ICS. Because कितने लोग जाते थे? I mean, how many people could have traveled from India to
आज
go to?
competition बढ़ गया है.
The competition is very, very intense today. Even in my time, 70,000-80,000 people would perhaps write the prelims exam, and so the ratio between those who wrote the prelims and those who made it was a manageable ratio. Up to when you cross 1 million aspirants,
And
so
high
things
level
are-
of rejections
high
happen.
level of rejections are
तो
there.
ये बताइए सर,
बट
इस
इसमें
केस
एक
में
और चीज़ है
जी,
जो मुझे लगता है कि जब हम तैयारी करते हैं सिविल सर्विसेज की, तो साथ साथ में स्टेट सिविल सर्विसेज की तैयारी भी साथ साथ करनी चाहिए.
अच्छा.
इसके साथ में बाकी जो कम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स उसकी भी तैयारी साथ साथ करनी चाहिए. दिस ओवर ऑब्सेशन विद ओनली दिस वन कम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम, दैट आई थिंक कैन पोज अ मेजर चैलेंज, because when you are preparing for this exam, you must give all other exams also.
okay.
That will sort of act as a backup to our system.
So that's a very interesting tip. Second, what does the UPSC panel look for in a candidate?
Well, as far as the information aspect is concerned, that has already been checked, that has already been tested. We look at the presence of mind, we look at the ability to respond to situations, we look at how comfortable the person is with his own personality and in interacting with the others, because at the end of the day, it is your confidence which should not be arrogance. So it's a fine balance, between knowing what you can speak, and it's not necessary to know everything, because nobody can know everything. But it is how you respond to a question. It is how you react to the situation. That is what we're looking at. We're looking for the UPSC is looking for a person with a well-rounded personality.
Before we move ahead, just a small reminder to hit the subscribe button. Also, another challenge is that administrators are supposed to be neutral. So in these highly polarized times, when young people are being exposed to so much of extreme views, what does a UPSC, how does a UPSC aspirant manage this polarization and still come across as neutral?
Two things. One is that it is not that society has been polarized as of yesterday.
Okay.
Political contests in this country have been very, very intense. It could have been between the left and the right at some point of time, because let's not forget that the left ideology was very, very strong in the 60s, 50s, 70s. It was a very strong thing. The emergency had divided the country along extreme lines. And on several issues, there have been differences of opinions. I think a civil servant owes his allegiance to the Constitution of India. So we have to follow and abide whatever the Constitution of India says. So if the Constitution of India and the laws enacted through legitimate means, through the executive instructions which are not which are not aligned to the Constitution, both in letter and spirit, are issues which, if a civil servant knows that this is what he has to do, there should not be too many difficulties. There will be difficulties, but it is not that it is an impossibility paradigm.
और सर, ये जो lateral entry शुरू हुई हैं, इसको लेके how do you view this? Does it
Lateral
pose?
entry has been put in the cold store for some time. My suggestion on this is, and I've made it on several occasions, we need people in our technical directorates. We need people who will be technical experts. We don't have to make them joint secretaries. To give you an example, the Ministry of Agriculture, for example, it has a minister who is the political head of agriculture. He has to give the political vision of what should be the way in which Indian agriculture has to evolve. He has to take a political call on that. The secretary has to provide the administrative leadership and the administrative vision for that. But the technical aspects of agriculture, whether it is in cold chain development, or it is in marketing, or it is in international trade, that is where you require expertise. And that expertise need not be as joint secretaries. That expertise has to be in the technical directorate. For example, take the case of the National Bee Board. Now, the National Bee Board requires experts who know about honey. Their technical inputs will feed into policy. Now, getting somebody as a joint secretary, we have not understood what the job of a joint secretary is. The joint secretary's job, a joint secretary is not supposed to be a technical expert. Technical expertise will feed into policy. So we need a lot of experts. We need experts in civil aviation. We need experts on health. We need experts on several things, but they have to be part of the technical directorates, which are comparatively weaker. So we have some of the brightest secretaries, very bright joint secretaries. But for example, in the case of agriculture, we had the National Center for Cold Chain Development. We had a very, very bright person, Pavanesh Kohli, to head the National Center for Cold Chain Development. Now, he's not a joint secretary, but his inputs, the inputs that he gives will feed the policy on cold chain development. Likewise, you have experts on logistics. You have experts on tourism. You have experts on various. They are the ones who will feed the technical wing of the ministries. That is where we require, and we do need a lot of lateral entries in the state level directorates, which are currently manned by the IAS, but we need technical inputs there. Now, getting those technical people to be joint secretaries and again make cabinet notes, that's not their expertise. I have been trained from my, what is the specialist? What does a joint secretary bring to the table? A joint secretary brings to the table the ability to collate information, prepare a cabinet note, prepare his minister for a reply to the parliament, reply to the Public Accounts Committee and all the committees. This is a specialist job. Unfortunately, we think that all IAS is a very professional job. I mean, the job of a secretary is a highly technical and a highly professional job. In many ways, like a good advocate, like a good person who's complete knowledge of law. So I think there is a little bit of role confusion there.
But then that is also a problem with the political head, because they don't come with any such training, or at least the lateral entries have some sort of background and training.
See, political thing, they have to provide the larger political. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
The most successful intervention in this country was done by Lal Bahadur Shastri in the Green Revolution.
True.
At that point of time, he selected C. Subramanian as his agriculture minister. C. Subramanian again decided to get M.S. Swaminathan, a technical expert for this. And he decided to get in Mr. Sivaram, an IAS officer, who was then the Chief Secretary of Odisha, to head the agriculture department. So it is when you have a great administrator, a great political, executive, and a technical expert together when they come. That is when things happen. You see, I always say that just by getting a technical expert, you will not get everything. Just by getting a good secretary, you will not get everything. You have a good technical expert and a good secretary, but you don't have political vision at the top, again you will flounder. You see, in order to run the country well, and this is again from our Shastras, you require Prabhu Shakti, Mantrana Shakti and Utsah Shakti. So all these three Shaktis have to come together. Now that mantra, that Prabhu Shakti, now the larger vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, a $40 trillion economy. Now that is something which that visioning had to be done by the Prime Minister. Right? Nobody other than the Prime Minister can do it. It's not for the Cabinet Secretary to say he will become a $40 trillion economy. But the Prime Minister cannot do it alone. The Prime Minister will require a set of experts, both in the NITI and in various other organizations, a lot of inputs to support that thing. And he'll require a lot of secretaries who will then provide the Mantrana Shakti on how to translate that into practice. And then you require Utsah Shakti. Utsah Shakti comes in from young officers. It comes in from technical experts who will bring in their Utsaha into the thing. So unless Utsaha and Mantrana and Prabhu Shakti go together, you cannot have a Viksit Bharat. And there's no contradiction. You see, where is the contradiction if we have a very good Prime Minister? Where is the contradiction if we have a good Cabinet Secretary and we have a good Agriculture Secretary and we have a good Agriculture Commissioner and we have a good person who advises you on cold chain? Where is the contradiction? Some of the contradictions are, plain. Yesterday I was at a conference that said that, education is more important. No, education is important and GDP is also important. Where is the binary? Where is the binary in saying that if you have GDP, you can't have education? Well, you need GDP and you need education and you need health. You need everything. So I think we have to think in that larger perspective if we want a Viksit Bharat.
And on that note, thank you so much, sir, for making time for us today. We are a baby podcast and you still made time for us. And there is so much more to learn from you, and we'll bring you back on this podcast again. Thank you once again for making time.
Thank you.
If you want to continue listening in to such interesting conversations about Bharat, do like and subscribe.